Well, good morning. It's great to see that the room is packed, and people want to sit in the back and be COVID safe. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the non-TV part of our business, right? We spent the last day and a half talking about linear TV, connected TV, obviously some of the challenges that those platforms are presenting to advertisers looking to build brands. So today we have an interesting couple of conversations around people who are not necessarily in the traditional TV, as we'd call it, space. So why don't you go ahead, Erin, and introduce yourself to this fine room?
Sure. Great to be here, and thank you again, Andy, for an amazing event. Erin Moran, I'm the new Global Chief Revenue Officer at WMX. As Andy mentioned, we just rebranded Wednesday, which was very exciting, and we were happy to roll that out at Beet. I've been here for a month, so I'm new to the company, but I'm not new to the industry. I spent the last 5 years working at Google, leading their education practice holistically, and then prior to that, I was at Twitter, leading their global accounts. It's probably worth noting I got my start in the industry at an ad network called Undertone, because I know we've been talking a lot about programmatic at the conference, and this was sort of pre-programmatic. So got my start there, and that's really when I started thinking about addressable and the ability to reach audiences at scale. So I've been talking about it for the last 15 years, but very happy with how we're evolving.
So the advertising, thanks for that. The advertising industry is not really for the faint of heart, right? It's a hard industry, there's a lot of change. Why did Warner Music decide to get into this space now?
Yeah, this was a natural evolution for us. For the last 50 years, we've really been at the forefront of creativity. We've been one step ahead of culture, and this was all in the realm of how we service artists. So this step was really about being able to extend artists' brands, bring them closer to fans, and then for advertisers to bring them into the ecosystem, to give them access to these artists, to this content at scale. So it felt like a really natural next step for the company.
That's great. That's great. It's really exciting. So can you describe for the room the different platforms that you're bringing to market right now?
Sure. Yeah, we have a very robust ecosystem. I think I'll start with our owned and operated properties, since that's been a pretty hot topic over the last few days. So we own several. I will talk about a handful of them that will give you a kind of a sense of how we break it out. One is Uprocks, which is a youth music and culture site. It has great engagement with Gen Z, a lot of traffic, a lot of great content and publishing. We have Songkick, which is an application where you can go and follow the best artists, find out when they're performing, go to their concerts, and even buy tickets. We have Hip Hop DX, which is a leading hip hop brand. And then we have Cover Nation, which is the leading site for cover artists and fans to go as a destination. So that kind of gives you a flavor for the types of properties that we have within the portfolio. In addition to that, we have premium YouTube inventory. You're able to align your brand with artist channels, and that's exclusive to WMX.
That's very cool. That's very cool. So you're sitting in front of a bunch of people who are probably more TV-centric in the way they think about the world, based on what occupies a lot of their time. As you think about the platforms you just described, how do you think they help a brand overcome some of the challenges they're facing with television generally?
I think there's a couple of things. The first is flexibility has come up as a priority for advertisers in this ecosystem. I think the ability to buy specific audiences in brand safe premium content is going to be key across our owned and operated properties. That's married with a lot of scale that we have across our YouTube channels. So in terms of what you can do with our platform that may not be possible in linear TV, it's really about reaching precise audiences, and in particular, young audiences. And that's where we have a lot of focus. In fact, we are a top 5 media company for adults 18 to 34. So we have a lot of reach there, and that's something that can complement the linear TV space.
Yep. I would think also, and we heard Scott Schiller talk about this the other day about his NYU class and how none of them have linear TV subscriber relationships. They spend a lot of time with music. But I would also think there's an older demographic skew to this too. I mean, I'm still listening to some of the same bands that I listened to when I was 20.
You raise a great point. Music really is culture, so it's adaptable to all ages, really with the ability to target, right? We have access to that younger audience. It doesn't mean it's exclusively that younger audience.
Yep. And how do you think about the artists and the ability to do better integrations than just, running a 30-second ad for a brand in one of your platforms? What's the artist's willingness to sort of engage on behalf of advertisers?
Yeah, I think the artists are fairly willing. I can give one example that comes to mind in terms of a deeper type of integration that we've done with artists in the past. General Mills came to us and they were looking to hack tween boredom. They wanted to do this on behalf of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So they came to us sort of with this challenge. How do we think about this? And we went to our portfolio of artists to really align them properly with the right band. And we found Meet Me at the Altar, which is an emerging pop band within the portfolio. And what we did was built out an interactive music video for them, which had over 30 million impressions and tremendous engagement.
That's very cool. Any other case studies you want to highlight for the room?
Yeah, I think one more that I can share is Intel, because I think this is a really interesting one. They came to us with the challenge of how do we really put Intel at the forefront of creativity and make certain that when people think about the Intel brand, it's innovative and creative. And so what we did with them was built an event called CreateCon, and we invited creators in to really showcase how they were leveraging Intel for their own creativity, to power their creativity. And that event was a huge success. In addition to that, we actually made a horror film for them, which was showcased at Art Walk in LA. So it was a physical, experiential engagement, and Intel was thrilled with the results and the outcomes.
Oh, that's so cool. I would think your platform set up where it's just not one way that you enable the consumers to interact in a big way.
Exactly. I mean, I think that's the point of flexibility, that advertisers are coming to us with different types of requests, and it powers a lot of creativity on our side and flexibility and ability to come back to them with capabilities that we have.
That's very cool. So can you talk a little bit about new developments or initiatives that this group should expect to see from you over the next 12 months?
Sure. I think there's going to be a lot in 2022. The roadmap is packed, but one that we just rolled out yesterday is our data storefront called Connects. We're sitting on top of massive fan data, audience data, and so what we did was organize this, made it accessible to advertisers. You can go in. So for example, if you're looking to reach females 18 to 34 who are in market for luxury goods, you can go in, see what our reach is against that, and also align that with the right types of artists. What types of artists are appropriate for your brand to be surrounded by?
That's very cool. So the first panel at this conference on Wednesday talked a lot about what advertisers want. And some of the things that came up in the course of that conversation was things like they don't want any new walled gardens. They want easy interactivity with other parts of their media plan. They want to be able to leverage their own data at scale. As you think about hearing that, how does that affect your product strategy and your go-to-market strategy?
Yeah, I think it's really at the forefront of it, right? The privacy landscape is evolving very quickly. This was one of the primary reasons I decided to come over to WMX, the way that they're building for the future of advertising and artists. So with this ecosystem, we have robust first-party data that sits on top of premium inventory, which is exactly what advertisers need and want at scale. We have over 249 million monthly unique visitors. So massive scale with premium inventory and the ability to see that user across our entire ecosystem.
And you could then plug in very easily into agency planning tools, things like that.
Exactly.
Well, great. Thanks so much for last night and the great event, and thanks for taking the time.
Thanks, Howard.